You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Jim. You are listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide for moving and living in other countries. I'm excited about today's episode because we'll be talking about the top countries to move to for work-life balance. And, I really can't, from a personal perspective, tell you that I've mastered work-life balance. Actually, what is work-life balance? To me, work-life balance involves things like managing the stress and things like the focus and the time commitment that comes from however you make your living with the rest of your life. Maybe your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your children. And when we talk about balance, I think just being human, it's something that's very difficult to achieve. So for example, take athletes for a great example of this. Here's people that spend a lot of time away from maybe family and friends, and they invest their time into training and focusing on their sport. And do they have the balance? Well, maybe in their younger lives they don't. Maybe they do in their later lives. I know actors have talked about this, people that go travel to remote locations to do certain movies, that they're gone for 2 or 3 months at a time. They only talk with their spouses on the phone, or sometimes their spouses can go with them, but it makes life a little more difficult. And there's a lot of professions that just demand a lot of time and energy. Just the other week, I was watching a documentary on West Virginia, and they were talking about the coal industry there and how the coal workers, a lot of them work a shift from 5 in the morning to 5 at night, 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. It doesn't leave a whole lot of time left over for any other thing. I mean, I imagine that would put a strain on relationships with family and friends, let alone time to do anything like a hobby. So yeah, work-life balance is something that we talk about more in the modern day, so to speak, than they have in the past, because the number one priority, of course, is going to be to put food on the table and keep the lights on. And then once we get beyond that, then we see the work-life balance come to the forefront more often than not today. What are the 3 countries, though, that are known for striking the balance? Those happen to be, in 2024, Denmark, Spain, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates. So let's talk a little bit about what makes each of these countries such a great choice in the opinions of others for finding balance. First, we can talk about Denmark. Denmark consistently ranks as one of the top countries for work-life balance, not just for locals, but for expats as well. So what's the secret that Denmark has? Well, they say the key lies in its working culture and in their policies. In Denmark, the standard work week is typically around 37 hours, and overtime is not the norm. And this creates a work environment where employees can focus on their job during office hours, but are expected to unplug and enjoy their personal life afterward. A big bonus is Denmark's support for families and flexible working arrangements, because many companies allow for remote work or flexible hours, which is great if you're an expat and you're trying to balance your career while exploring a new country. Parents especially benefit from family-friendly policies like extended parental leave and a culture that emphasizes spending time with family. I think the American culture used to be that way at certain points, especially among certain ethnic groups, Asians, Italians, Irish in the past. There were greater focuses on spending time with family than there are today. But all in all, getting back to Denmark, Denmark is one of those places where you can pursue a career without sacrificing your personal time and well-being. Next is a country that we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, and a country that's very popular. I'm talking about the country of Spain. If you're looking for a country that embraces that work and leisure mindset, combining both, Spain then has to be a strong candidate because the Spanish lifestyle is all about taking the time to enjoy life. And that mindset translates into the work culture as well. So even though Spain has a standard work week, it's not uncommon for employees to take long breaks in the middle of the day, also known as the famous siesta. And even though the traditional siesta isn't as common in big cities anymore, there is an emphasis on leisure and downtime that remains. Spain's also great if you're a remote worker because the government recently introduced a digital nomad visa, which makes it easier for you as a remote worker to live and work from anywhere in Spain. So imagine spending your mornings working with a view of the beach or a view of the countryside, and then your afternoons you explore the local markets or you enjoy the outdoors with some friends, lunch, and maybe going out for a drink. Spain's combination of great weather and its vibrant social scene, along with a relaxed work culture, make it a top choice for expats looking for that balance of work and play. And last but not least, the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, may surprise some of you, but this country is working really hard to provide a balanced lifestyle for its residents. Recently, I saw videos on YouTube of people that spent several years in the UAE, Dubai, and places like that, looking to basically reset their lives. One was a younger guy in his later 20s, and he moved there, and he moved away from, I forgot what country he was coming from, somewhere in Europe, but he was just having trouble focusing because of friends and people around him that were serving as distractions, and he wanted to get his career back on track. And he reported that his first month in the UAE, in Dubai in particular, he accomplished more than in the entire previous year in whatever country that he was previously in, simply because the atmosphere was conducive there to focus and peace of mind. Everything that you want is there, but yet it's a different culture, it's a different mindset. So I guess one of the ways that I can compare it, if you're living here in the United States and you just want to use the U.S. as an example, is, and maybe not so much today, but if you take the hustle and bustle lifestyles of somebody in New York and you translate that into the more laid-back lifestyle of the South, maybe even Georgia or Florida, where the lifestyle is a little slower, that gives you more of an idea of what we're talking about, why the UAE has this balance of lifestyle while working hard at the same time and getting things done. So recently, the UAE introduced a 4.5 day work week for public sector employees, which gives them more time to enjoy life outside of work. Many private companies are starting to follow suit with this, offering shorter work weeks or flexible hours. And this trend is making the UAE an increasingly attractive place for expats who are looking to advance their careers while still finding time to enjoy their personal lives. The UAE also offers some unique perks when it comes to work-life balance. There's a lot of sunny days there, world-class leisure activities, a vibrant expat community, and there's always something to do when you're off the clock. So whether you're talking about luxury shopping, outdoor adventures, international cuisine, the UAE provides an exciting backdrop for both work and for leisure. Okay, next let's talk about work flexibility and remote work. One of the key components of the work-life balance is definitely flexibility, because in recent years, remote work has become a game changer for a lot of expats, allowing people to choose their own work environment as well as their schedule. And some countries stand out as great destinations for those looking to work remotely while enjoying all of the benefits of living abroad. One of the best examples of this is the country of Portugal. Portugal, like its neighbor Spain, has embraced a remote work type of mindset with open arms. The country's beautiful coastline, their affordable living, and strong internet connectivity make it a dream destination for digital nomads. Places like Lisbon and Porto are two cities where you'll find thriving remote work communities with co-working spaces and cafes that cater to those who work on the go. And let's not forget also about the fantastic weather there, which allows for outdoor activities year-round. Now, one of the things that comes to mind immediately also with flexibility, remote work, and just the lifestyle is a lot of times people are ingrained in, let's say, habitual type activities, which means they worry about things because they're used to worrying about things. Whether there's something to worry about or not, they'll find something. Or they're always on the go, and so even if there's nothing to do, they find a way to always be busy doing something. And so if you're caught in that position, then it's probably going to take more of an individual effort to break those habits, because if you go to a place like a Portugal or a Spain and you're used to that and you have the opportunity to work when you want to work, in other words, you have X amount of work that needs to be done in any given 24-hour day, and it really doesn't matter whether you do it all in the morning or all in the afternoon or all at night or whether you space it out, that if you have the opportunity, or if you have the opportunity to work when you want to work, but you're in that habit of always being busy, then you're still going to fill in the gaps with more work, even if it's just thinking about it. Sometimes thinking about doing something is actually more tiring than going ahead and doing it, if you know where I'm coming from. That's a habit that has to be broken. That's something that isn't going to be fixed just by changing your location. And I say that from personal experience. I say that because I was one of those people who was always thinking about work, whether I was working or not, and so mentally I was always tired. And so one of the reasons why I was thinking about work is because I was always worrying about what was happening with this or that. And so it becomes a habit where you do it without any effort, right? That's what a habit is. You do something without really having to think much about it. It's almost you go on autopilot. But you can reverse that and create a good habit in which you begin to fill in times where maybe you would have been just thinking about work to doing a leisurely activity, and you're thinking about something else that's giving you energy instead of taking energy away. Like that old saying goes, whatever you're giving your attention to, where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're focusing on something that's taking more than it's giving, then you're going to be exhausted. But if you're focusing on something that's giving and not just taking, then you're better off for having invested that time where you invested it. That's just a little extra there I'm throwing out on the side. Now, if you do prefer the hustle and bustle of a cosmopolitan city, but you want the work flexibility, right, and doing the remote work, Singapore is another top spot for remote workers today looking for the work-life balance, because Singapore is known for its efficiency and safety, but it also has a great mix of workspaces, from state-of-the-art office buildings to stylish co-working hubs, and the city's modern infrastructure makes working remotely a breeze when it's time to take a break, because they have a world-class cuisine, plenty of spaces that you can go to relax and recharge, and a vibrant nightlife. Leisure and lifestyle for those who enjoy life outside of work. So what do you do with all the extra time once you've achieved a better work-life balance? Well, leisure and lifestyle are just as important as finding a job that you love. So let's take a look at some of the countries that are not only great for working, but also for living life to the fullest. I think it's important to do something that you like, if at all possible. But let's balance that out a little bit, because even if you're doing something that you love, there's going to be aspects of that that you probably could do without. So there's no like perfect nirvana job. Even if you turn your dream hobby into a job, the fact that it's become a job puts a certain kind of stress that otherwise wouldn't be there. So in that respect, I think that lifestyle leisure is a way of balancing that. There's always going to be some negative, but long as you can manage it, that's fine. So, for example, somebody may say, well, I like the tropical area, but I hate to sweat. And if you've been there for a period of time sweating, then the cold may look good until you actually get into the cold, and then you compare the two and say, well, I think I would rather be sweating than freezing. That's what I mean by kind of finding the balance. But Spain, as we mentioned earlier, is fantastic all the way around when it comes to lifestyle, because it has the Mediterranean climate, which means you can enjoy the outdoor activities just about all year long, whether it's taking a walk along the beach or hiking in the countryside or just having a meal outside with friends. The culture in Spain emphasizes taking your time to enjoy food, drink, and company, which also contributes to an overall sense of well-being. For those of you who come from a place that's hustle and bustle all the time, you know as well as anybody else that sometimes you have to learn how to slow down. You have to make yourself slow down and enjoy whatever it is you're doing. From something simple like watching a movie with family or friends, to sharing a meal with family or friends, or doing some type of outdoor activity, whatever it is, however involved it is, or not involved it is, you do have the time to be there, to be in the moment, to learn how to relax and not be thinking about what you need to do tomorrow or what you just finished doing. You really have to kind of practice being in the moment. Another country that excels in leisure is Australia, because with its stunning natural beauty and active lifestyle, Australia is perfect for those looking for that mix of work and adventure. So whether you're talking about surfing on the Gold Coast or exploring the Great Barrier Reef or just taking in the sights of Sydney, Australia, Australia offers plenty of activities to keep you busy when you're not working. And the work culture in Australia also promotes a healthy work-life balance. Many companies offer flexible hours, and they encourage their employees to use their time off for things like travel and recreation. Now, if you're looking for a mix of urban excitement plus nature, then New Zealand ranks very high near the top also, because the country is renowned for its outdoor adventures, things like hiking and skiing and water sports. But they have a work culture there that promotes taking breaks and spending time in nature. New Zealand encourages expats to make the most of their surroundings. Plus, you have stunning landscapes of mountains, plus beaches and forests, provide the perfect backdrop for anyone looking to maintain a balanced lifestyle. Now, it's funny because my friends that live out in California tell me that's one of the reasons they love California and want to remain there. And, sometimes what we say, we talk about some of these other places, some of the scenic descriptions that we're looking at sound very similar to certain places here in the United States. So maybe if you can't make that big move right away, you can learn how to rediscover some of the benefits of the place that you're currently living in has to offer. For example, my friends live in California, and they tell me that they love the fact that the beaches, the mountains, the forests are all within driving distance. Cool weather, warm weather, all within a drive. And they like that. They like the balance. And California is beautiful. I haven't been out there myself, but my dad spent some time out there, and he said it was beautiful. For me, the warmer climate was a type of thing I experienced in leaving the Northeast and coming to Florida. South Florida on the West Coast, Gulf of Mexico, beautiful beaches and all of that. But like many people, what happens is you get into your daily routines And the fact that the beach is, less than a mile away or within walking distance, depending on where you're living, that you don't really even notice it anymore. You enjoy the fact that it's there, but you don't actually spend any of your time going there. Or you enjoy the fact that there's lots of leisurely things to do wherever it is that you're living, but you never really find the time to do any of them. Why? Because you're caught in more of this imbalance of work and life. But I find that, at least for myself, the older that I get, I enjoy the simpler things. So, for example, I really enjoy being in a place where there's some activities and a place where you can sit down and enjoy a nice meal with some friends. To me, that's one of the more enjoyable things in life. Eating good food, sharing it with family and friends, just enjoying the time that you spend together. And also, I hate to say it, but sitting down at home and enjoying a movie with family, that's one of the things I look forward to too. The simple things. But of course, it is nice if you enjoy things like hiking and skiing and water sports and things like that, that they are available to you for those of you who live in places like California. So as long as you're spending the high tax money, one of the things people complain about, the cost of living, well, maybe you might as well take a little bit of time and enjoy some of the leisurely activities those places have to offer while you're there. And then eventually you can make your move to your dream location, whether that be Spain, Australia, or New Zealand, whatever works for you, or even, Mexico, Panama, all of these top expat locations, Spain, that we've been talking about over the last few episodes. Once you get to these locations, then of course the fact that you're in a new surroundings makes it much easier for you to want to explore, want to make the effort, want to do new things, because everything's new. It's kind of like a pattern. They call it a pattern interrupt. Like every day, if you drive by the same tree, you become blind to the tree. But if the tree were suddenly gone, then suddenly you notice that it's not there anymore. One of those type of things. That's what moving does. That's what relocation does. And so what happens after you finally achieved sort of a balance between life and work? Well, I think leisure and lifestyle are probably just as important as the job or the work that you do. So let's look at some countries that are not only good for working, but also for life outside of work. Spain, of course, comes up first because, as we mentioned earlier, the Mediterranean climate means that you can enjoy outdoor activities just about all year long. Australia, of course, is another one. New Zealand, we talked about those countries. And I think that what happens is you have to start maybe with, you don't change overnight. Let's put it that way. You don't become a different person just because you recognize the need for change and tomorrow you get up and you do everything different. So it's probably going to, for most people, you're probably going to have to start with setting some boundaries with your work. And you can do this now before you even make your big move. Get in the habit of doing it. But if you're working remotely, it's important to kind of draw the line between where work time ends and personal time begins, because work is always just a few steps away. Work is always as close with a lot of people as your cell phone is to you. So maybe you designate a workspace and you set work hours, and then you make sure that you log off when the workday is done. And even for those of you who need to be in touch 24/7, meaning that you have to be on call for whatever reason, I understand that, but understand that the difference between an emergency and a non-emergency. Some things are important, but they're not emergencies. Some things have to be tended to, but they don't have to be tended to right now. As a matter of fact, you probably only have so many productive hours in a day. If you've ever tried working long, hard days, you know that by the end of the workday, you're not firing on all 8 cylinders anymore. You don't have that same focus and energy and concentration as maybe you had in the beginning of the day. And so it would be better for you to go to sleep and wake up and to get the work done the next morning than to try and power through and getting it done sort of incomplete, especially if it's something that requires extra attention to detail to make sure something's done properly. So setting boundaries where the work ends and where personal time begins is a huge thing. Now, one of the things that aids in the whole work-life balance thing is the local culture of where you're at. Because when it comes to downtime, for example, in Spain, if you have a siesta time, or maybe you call it nap time, where you take a nap in the middle of the day, a 20-minute nap or whatever, where you just take that time to recharge. More people are doing that now today in the West than probably ever before. Or the time to enjoy a leisurely meal. If you make that part of your culture, then it's built into whatever's going on. Now, with certain people, it depends. You don't want to tell them in a business context that, oh, you're sorry you didn't get back to them because you were eating lunch. There's people that are perfectly willing to miss lunch because the business is more important. And I understand that, yeah, there are times when, again, there's a difference between an emergency and something that's important. And if you don't take care of yourself, probably nobody else is going to do it. So you really do have to make time for yourself. And part of that is maybe enjoying a little bit of downtime for lunch and making that part of your culture, where you take an hour or whatever you need to take and you have a good meal, or an hour and a half. Staying connected is also big, because if you have a social network in place and you're connecting with other people, maybe other expats, you have a support system that makes it easier for you to integrate and find balance, because maybe you do things with other people. So, for example, a group of us, we decided that we would get together for dinner every other week. Certain parts of the year, we were doing it every Wednesday night. Then it moved to twice a month. And we get together. It's just a bunch of us guys, and we have dinner together. We chat. It's very relaxed, and it's become part of our culture. We look forward to doing it. And that gives you a way to get out and away from home, which is good. As great as it is to be at home, it's great also to have places to go and things to do outside of your home on a social level. And then people call this self-care and leisure, whether it's you're exploring a new city, whether you're taking up a new hobby, whether you're simply going for a walk. You have to prioritize activities that are going to help you relax and recharge, especially if you're used to being busy all of the time. Again, it's habit forming, where you're working when you don't have to be working, or you're thinking about work when you could be thinking about something that's more enjoyable. And this is a major problem, I think, with a lot of relationships, because you have both parties that are in their own little work worlds, and they need to disconnect from those worlds and spend some time together doing things that both of them will benefit from. So again, relaxing and recharging, finding the balance, and being determined to finding the balance. These are the elements that make finding the balance possible. Even if there's no such thing as a perfect balance, the fact that you recognize that you need it is probably the first step in the right direction. And then exploring nature and travel opportunities. If you're living in a country, or you're moving to a country where you have options, like in Australia or in New Zealand, are just examples of it, there's a whole wide range of outdoor activities and nature and things that you can discover for the first time. Probably even where you're currently living. Maybe you're living in a big city, so maybe not so much there. But again, there's always opportunities to travel short distances, spend time in a park or something to just unwind. And somebody might say, well, Jim, I just don't have the time or energy to go to the park. No, it's probably just that you've developed a habit of, laying down in your bed or sitting in a chair or just scrolling online, when those activities really take more than they give. And you'd probably benefit 10 times as more by taking 30 minutes, taking a short drive to a park, as an example, and just enjoying breathing and being alive and being outdoors and gathering your thoughts and recharging. So, and those are things you can start doing now. You don't have to wait until you relocate. Although, the reason why we talk about relocating is because there are certain destinations that make doing all of the above a lot easier, or they support doing all the above. So there you have it. That's a closer look at some of the best countries for work-life balance, some practical tips to help you achieve the work-life balance as an expat. So whether you're considering moving to Denmark because of its family-friendly policies, Spain for the laid-back lifestyle, or the UAE for its growing work flexibility, there are plenty of great options out there to find that balance between work and play. And remember, finding a work-life balance is about more than just reducing your work hours. It's about finding a place where you can build a fulfilling career while also taking the time to enjoy life, make new friends, and explore the world around you. So thanks for joining me today for this episode. If you're considering a move abroad, I hope this episode has inspired you to find a place where you can work and be happy and live fully. If you haven't visited the website already, sdcinternationalshipping.com, we're here to help make your international move a smooth, stress-free, and seamless process. Reach out to us through the website. We have chat, toll-free number 877-339-0267. We're here for you. Reach out to us when you're ready. Okay, until the next time, this is Jim wishing you all the best. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.